He's trying to blame oil for something that's actually been occurring since before this began, since before the invasion of Ukraine began. And you can chart it. You can chart it on things like Gas Buddy, etc. I mean, you can chart it. And the fact that they're trying to say that this is somehow a responsibility now that you must bear because of what? Putin and Putin alone. No one else did this. It's just him. It's asinine. All right, so we're going to get into this, and we're going to kind of we're going to play some of the audio from the address if you missed it. And again, apologies. We're a tiny little outfit here, so we're like struggling to do what the big people do. So this I wrote about this, and I hit up on this. I wanted to address one part of his remarks that I'm so tired of hearing this. The 9,000 whatever leases. Can we play? Is this him or is this Psaki? Okay, so he repeated this in his speech. We ought to have that, but because we don't, this was Psaki from yesterday, which was not Biden today, but Biden repeated this. So just pretend it's Biden saying this just in his speech that he said it in just minutes ago. Listen.
Would President Biden rescind his executive order that halts new oil and natural gas leases on public lands?
Well, 90% of them happen on private lands, as I'm sure you know, and there are 9,000 unused approved drilling permits. So I would suggest you ask the oil companies why they're not using those if there's a desire to drill more.
Okay, that's an asinine statement because she didn't answer his question, but it's a stupid statement because additionally, and I wrote about this. This is why you need the newsletter. Some people are like, well, I don't want to read. Then don't bitch to me. I don't care. Then unsubscribe. Get out. I mean, it's free for F's sake. The 9,000 leases, that is such a stupid, disingenuous argument. And she is, and he too, because if we ever find what he said about that, that'd be awesome. His statement where he repeated that and he went on for a bit. He was like, oh, well, he messed up. He slipped up in his statement. When he said 9,000 leases, he made mention of, 9,000 leases, and there's acreage leases. Because it's not just like big oil companies are sitting on these leases and they're refusing to drill. I mean, you have to pick a narrative. It can't be both that it's big evil oil and they're all about profits, and also it's big evil oil and they're not about profits. They're just about screwing you over. You have to pick a narrative. It can't be both. And the 9,000 leases, I don't know if you guys I mentioned this on Jesse Waters' show last night. First off, the vast majority of these leases, many of these are just acreage leases. And that's where Biden totally screwed up because you have to go through additional red tape just after you secure the land, then to establish drilling and establish, the means of production, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so much red tape here and the administration is counting on your not knowing it because you're not in oil and gas. Why the hell would you know it? That's not you being dumb. I mean, a fish doesn't know how to climb a tree, and we don't sit here and say fish are stupid, do we? I cannot stand this asinine elitist BS that, they're going to play on your ignorance because you don't work in oil and gas. There's so much red tape that you have to go through to even establish drilling or fracking. It is ridiculous, and it takes so long to establish, which is why you have these people who've been fighting Democrats in court. They've been litigating this for years up to this point because everyone saw apparently what Democrats could not see. And so the 9,000, some of it's just acreage leases. Some of it's in litigation. Whether it's EPA, sometimes it's Bureau of Land Management, the original domestic terrorist group. Bureau of Land Management, which tries to claim people's land up by Red River. Bureau of Land Management, which brutally, they murder wild horses out west. You got to read about that. You got to read about what Bureau of Land Management does to wild horses out in the west. You would have a cow. Bureau of Land Management has a stack of, tons of leases that they're allowing to collect dust, and they're using the red tape to further diminish domestic production. That's one of the things that they're doing. There are a ton of those leases that are sitting up there. Additionally, these 9,000 permits, these leases that they're talking about, sometimes they are maybe it's some of the wells, maybe some of the oil, the land has gone dry. Sometimes I made a joke about this. there's like a rare donglefish or something on the land, which is not a real animal, but for illustrative purposes, some kind of rare animal or whatever. I don't know, the piping plover, whatever the hell these things are. Sometimes there's a rare animal that you have all these animal rights groups and the EPA and everybody else, they get involved and they litigate it, right? And then that drags out. So there's a lot of red tape that's being used to stifle energy production. Sometimes it's, areas have gone dry. Also, additionally, do you realize how much these regulations have made it more expensive for these companies to even get started and established, have an area established for drilling? Do people even know? They don't. They have no idea. But I'll tell you damn what, they get into their cars, even if it's electric and it runs off of 86% fossil fuels, they get into their electric vehicles and they drive around completely unaware that it was big oil and gas and big fossil fuel that brought them their virtue signaling that they paid an overabundance of their income for. It's asinine. I mean, Biden cannot blame inflation on business and pretend that his policies have had no creation in this. He can't do it. This is the same thing as blaming big meat. It's just like blaming big meat. Right? Blaming big meat for Biden inflation, which has jacked up commodities, has jacked up the prices of meat, jacked up the prices of everything. He simply cannot. He simply cannot say that they've had no creation in this. It's just not possible.